Hi, okay, so I'm back for part two, talking about trauma and how we use that to protect ourselves and why trauma is really a form of trying to stay safe. Okay, so trauma and our response to trauma is really just in simple terms, something bad happened where we felt helpless or abandoned or not strong enough, unable to control or get out of our situation. And so we had to cope. And we either had to fight, we had to flee, or we had to freeze. And if we don't feel like we can get away or that we can fight back, then we have no chance but to freeze. And if we get stuck in that freeze response, it's really just a form of self-protection. Like, I have been hurt, I am in danger, and I need to protect myself. This is, not something cognitively or emotionally that you need to release in your mind. It's basically happened subconsciously, from years and years of evolution that has taught your body how to protect itself, and your mind and your heart and your physical being, how to protect itself. And so in essence, trauma is just a form of something bad that happened, and really trauma is how you responded to it at that initial point of when the trauma happened, how you responded to it. And that is really the trauma, because you weren't able to let it go. You had to keep carrying it on forward. And that's because you didn't feel safe. So just to recap that. So trauma is essentially a form of trying to protect yourself and trying to create safety in your world. So if you have trauma around a person or an event or people, or a physical trauma or an accident, or something that happened to you, you most likely didn't feel safe in that situation, and you did whatever you could to protect yourself and to stay safe. What happens though is our body can get stuck in that mode, and we can keep reliving that. Then next time we see people or situations similar, or the next time a symptom comes, or the next time whatever, we have to contract, pull in, close off, tighten. So we've learned this response. We've learned this sort of, the body has learned a quick way. It's almost like Pavlov's dog, when it salivates, when you ring the bell and everything. So everybody knows about that. So it's a conditioned response. So we used it once, and it was the only thing that protected us, or attempted to protect us, protected what little bit of control that we had left over ourselves. It was response our body and mind best thought that we could cope through that situation. And in doing so, we learned that response at a very, very deep subconscious level. Right? So you don't even know you're doing it when you're in certain situations, and you are subconsciously reacting in ways that are attempted to protect yourself and keep yourself safe. So there's a lot of tightening. There's either fighting or fleeing. But if you got out of the situation and you were fine after that, then you likely were able to shake it off. But if you couldn't, and you had to freeze for the event or the trauma or whatever happened, then you're left with a lot of residual effects, like, especially if it's a repeated thing. Like if you're chronically ill now and symptoms come daily and daily and daily and daily, you're constantly in a protective state, like a combative fight or flight or freeze state, where you are just trying to cope, protect yourself, survive, and your body kicks in to the deepest form of what happened at that initial trauma. So you are repeating that over and over and over, and until you break that cycle, you're doomed to continue to repeat it. Anything that looks similar, feels similar, acts similar, comes up again and again and again in your daily life. And this is why you continue to use the same patterns, and you continue to be sick, and you're not able to let it go. Because there's a layer of safety you still feel that you need. You need a layer of protection, a layer of safety. You're not safe in this world. You're not safe against this event. You're not safe against your illness. You're not safe against whatever's happened. And so you use these coping skills, which or not learned, you're not doing it. You don't need to untangle this in a psychiatrist's office and figure out, or a therapist's office, like what was, my trauma and my event and how were my emotions. No, this is like a very basic survival mechanism that you've learned and that you do when you are feeling the biggest threat to your survival, that you need to protect yourself. So the only thing that you can do in these situations is you need to realize now that the trauma isn't happening at this moment, that it is over, that it is behind you, and you need to use self-safety, protecting, soothing talk to yourself. It's one of the only ways that you can get through this, to break the pattern. So it's really, we're trying to uncondition the subconscious response, which is protective, and we need to say, it's okay, I'm safe. You need to tell yourself constantly, I'm safe, I'm safe. I can deal with this, I can handle this, I'm safe, it's gonna be okay. Give yourself self-love, give yourself soothing, put yourself in situations where you actually feel safe, put tools around you where you feel safe and empowered. Let yourself feel empowered, let yourself feel like you're in control and that you can handle these things. Talk kindly to yourself. It's a process. It's not gonna happen quickly, but it's a process. And once you can feel safe, once you feel like you're okay you can leave it behind and continue on, that you don't have to continue to protect and continue to wall yourself off, constrict, tighten, all of these things, then you'll be able, just like an animal who gets injured or in a fight in the wild and they go away and it's over. It's behind them. It's done, right? They're not continually thinking about it. So because these threats keep coming in our life, and they keep coming, if you're chronically ill, the threats, the emotional threats, the physical threats, everything keeps coming on a daily basis. You go back into that fight or flight or freeze, and it's just basically as a way to self-preserve, to survive at the basic level, and to make yourself feel safe. So you really need to address your safety, put yourself in environments that feel safe, talk to yourself safely, go slower with things. It's a mental shift, and just keep telling yourself you're safe. It's different now. It's a mental shift to see things differently and to see things clearly as they are now, so that you're not responding from the past trauma. You're responding from your present situation, which is different, and you can come at it with a different way, a different stance, and you can not just have that quick conditioned response. You can think and pause and react differently. You don't have to react the same. You don't have to react quickly, and for survival in mind, you can stop and react for your emotions and for your heart and for your mind and for the life that you want to live. You can choose choices that you now want to make, so you don't have to be so quickly reactive. And so it's a learned choice, and it's unconditional, like trying to unravel that conditioning that you've done and making different choices every single time, and just realizing what you're actually doing, realizing what the pattern is, and realizing that you are now safe, and you can choose to respond as if you're capable and you're safe and you're empowered, and you can handle this and you can do it, and you most certainly can. So I hope this helps and gives you some insight. Try working on this.